knowing what you guys, kind of looking into what you needed from last year, I guess, and try to make those improvements.
Yeah, I think it's going to be huge. Every year, regardless of talent level, you always try to get bigger, stronger, and faster. And for us now with the transfer portal, you can attack the bigger portion, not just in the weight room. You can actually go out there and try to recruit bigger guys that can help right now. And so our guys have had a tremendous summer. They put on a ton of weight, added bunch of reps to the team's 225 number, and walking around their chest out, and so they feel good because like I said, they've been working hard all year, specifically this summer, so it should be a fun camp.
Is that specifically like a directive coming out of last season, like we got to get bigger?
Always. We always challenge those guys every year. You can't show up as the the high school version of yourself if you're a new guy coming in, and quite frankly, if you're already in a program, you got to change your body as well as the other things. And then, one of the biggest things with that is, the NFL has a combine for a reason. They measure these guys, they weight these guys, put them through the myriad of tests and stuff for a reason because, those things all matter, and so our guys are constantly hammered with that. And like I said, they've really taken the bull by the horns this offseason.
You got Jamil in the room for a little while now. What have you learned about him, just kind of over the course of that time?
Yeah, Jamil, highly motivated, doesn't need anyone to stand over him. A natural leader, a guy that gets the guys going and really came in instantly from day one. And I think, just integrated himself on this team and kind of stood out as a guy that, is serious about this experience, not just here for to have a good time in LA or whatever. This guy is really dialed into the football piece, the team piece, and just all those things. So he's done a good job.
What are your expectations from Romello this year?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him get back out there. He obviously came in last year and really got off to a fast start. Was the starter, when we started the season last year, and just dealt with, obviously a shoulder injury and ended his year. So I know it's been a long, grueling year for him, through the rehab process and kind of standing on the sideline watching, and that takes a toll on you mentally, probably even more so than physically for those guys that's in those, those types of situations. So I know he's excited as can be to get it back out there and show what he can do. I would assume he's got a big chip on his shoulder. So I'm looking forward to Melo's growth.
Another guy who didn't have last year, he's young, Braylon Shelby. It's somebody I know you have high expectations for at some point, but can somebody like that come in, not and enroll in the summertime and actually potentially make an impact and get some playing time?
Yeah, well, we won't get in his way. I'll tell you that. With any of these guys, we always tell those guys, if you're good enough, you're old enough. In our ideal situation, we want to play as many guys as we can on the defensive side of the ball specifically. Braylon is just a high character, walks around with a huge smile on his face, just a great kid, and he looks like he's already been in a college program for a few years. Stature wise, but he's still got to go out there and learn his plays and figure out what he's doing and figure out the speed of this game, because like you mentioned, coming in the summertime, you miss that spring ball, and you miss that opportunity to get your feet wet and make mistakes. And so this will be a challenge for him, like it is for all freshmen. And I know he's up for it. And I'm just really excited to get our hands on these guys and go at this thing this year.
There were some of the people that were able to watch some of your practices commented on how much better the defense was this spring than it was a year ago. Where will fans potentially see big improvements this year?
We kind of mentioned it. I think the number one thing is depth. I think as I look at the defensive side of the ball specifically, and you just look position by position, there's some names, on that board that as a coach you feel good about going into a game. Who starts, who backs up, who's rotational. That's all to be figured out here in camp. But pretty exciting to know you've got some different options, and and again, the guys last year did a great job, but each year that's one of the chief things we have to get done. You have to improve the roster, and you got to do it fast or now. So I'm looking forward to the position battles, specifically in my room, but across the whole board. It's going to be a chippy, exciting camp, I think, to be a part of for these guys and coaches alike.
Coach, how much does the defensive side of the ball feel an onus to step up after last year? Coach Grinch talked a lot about the fourth quarter, really delivering. You guys feel an extra sense of stepping up to make a national championship type team?
Always. I mean, I think that is a chief thing. As we evaluate, a year ago, again, different team. In first year, all those things, but you evaluated, and that's something we felt we could have done a better job or want to do a better job going forward. We want to finish games. If you really go back and watch games, a lot of our issues happen late in the game, and so that's just been a big focus, a big theme of this entire off season. You probably have heard it. The longer it goes, the better we get. You're just ingraining that into our memory banks, our mindsets, our fibers. That we got to get stronger as games go on. You know what I mean? And because that's really what it takes to play championship level football, not the fast start and then you die out, or the ups and downs. You got to be consistent, and in the fourth quarter specifically in our sport, you got to be your best. You got to play your best, and so we've really tried to again harp on that even more in every part of this program. Once this season ended. So.
And when you're facing a run, a team that wants to sort of shove it down your throat, how are you going to address that? It seemed like over the course of the season that maybe teams ran on you maybe a little bit more than you would have liked. So,
well, it's football. They got two options. They can run the ball, they can pass. And so, for us, we always want to limit, the run. I think generally most people want to, keep teams under 100 yards in the run game and in the pass game. Generally, I think teams want to keep people, under 300 yards passing, 250, whatever those goals are, But at the same time, the chief thing is to win the football game, and it's not always pretty. It's not always statistically arousing, and so that's the first thing. But in that, yeah, you do. You have those goals. You have those cliffs that you want to, those benchmarks you want to hit in a game, and so. I don't necessarily know if I can say this team or that team shoved it down our throat. I didn't feel like that, but at the same time, as a defense, you want to make a team one-dimensional. If they're a pass-heavy team, you obviously don't want that team being able to establish a run. And if they're a huge running team, you don't want to allow them to run and be in those situations. And a big part of that is being great on first down and not getting behind the sticks on those series, et cetera, et cetera. So, we got a long list of checklists that we would like to see get done, and that's what this camp is for, to, implement, those schemes or those adjustments, whatever it is that we, put our heads together this off season, and then obviously put the best guys out there to get that done. And so again, really excited about this season, man. Again, our focus is really just forward, and like I said, these next 3.5, 4 weeks, and getting ready for a good San Jose State team coming in here. So.
Turnovers were obviously a huge piece of what you did in the early part of the season. Didn't happen so much in the latter half. Is that just opportunities that the defensive side didn't make, or is that luck? I mean, why so successful and then the drop-off?
Yeah, you can't always explain that. The ball bounces high, bounce. I think one thing. Like you said, did a great job throughout the season, one of the top teams in the country in takeaways, and then you got an offense who did a great job protecting the ball. So obviously I think, one of the best, if not the best, turnover margin in the country, and that's how you get to 11 wins at the end of the day. You have the ball and you don't give it away. For us, takeaways will always be something that's comes at a premium in this defense. Preached every single day. It's in our bottom line, which is one of our core fundamentals of our structure of our defense, is that takeaways equal victory, and they do. And so we'll never get away from that. It's interesting. Sometimes they come in numbers and clusters. In years past, sometimes we've emphasized it and not got the same results, and sometimes you feel like you don't emphasize it as much, and all of a sudden you're getting them. It's a tricky thing, but the one thing I can say that is in our control is that we got to strip and punch at that ball more as a unit. You know what I mean? That's you got interceptions and sometimes, the ball just slips out of a guy's hand, tip passes. But one thing we got to do as a defense, we got to punch at that ball more because they're not going to hand it to you. We got to be more on the offensive mindset that way of getting that ball out. So,
how do you walk the line in the portal era between maybe going out and grabbing presumably ready-made or more experienced players versus bringing guys in and developing them the old-fashioned way?
Sure. In just my personal opinion, I wouldn't go into the transfer portal thinking developmental. You can recruit a high school kid and to develop them. I think when you're going into the portal, you're trying to address needs or immediate needs, and get no different than why the NFL doesn't improve their roster year to year through the draft alone. It's free agency and all that because you want to have a chance to bring a guy in that can impact right now, especially at a USC. And so yeah, you will naturally build some depth that way, but most every one of those guys that you're going to get in a transfer portal is a guy that you think can compete right now for a starting spot. I don't really see a benefit otherwise if you don't feel that way. And that kind of showed last year. If you look at every guy we brought in the transfer portal, I think almost every one of them started or at least contributed heavily last season, both sides of the ball. And to me, that's, in my opinion, that's how you use that transfer portal to your advantage, And on the other side of that is retaining and keeping your own guys, you know what I mean? And so that's where, just because you can doesn't mean you should, just because you can go out there and get a guy in the portal, you got to always think, how does that affect the guys that are here too in this room or on this side of the ball? So it is a fine line and a lot of conversations that go into those guys that we go seek out in that transfer portal.
In that regard, what does Jamil bring?
I think number one is pass rushing ability. When we, the season ended, that's one of the biggest things we thought we lacked overall up front, as a defensive line, pass rushers. If you took Thule away, not a ton of production individually in that category. Not to say anybody didn't. I know Nick Fig had 6.5, 7 sacks, and Solo and some of these guys did a good job. Don't get me wrong, but in today's game where the pass is, a staple of most teams, the more guys that you can get up front that can win one-on-ones, that can beat people, that can, keep quarterbacks corralled in those pockets, the better. And so we purposely went out and looked for guys that have some pass rushing traits. Jamil Muhammad, as you mentioned, natural pass rusher. Anthony Lucas, front pass rusher. Even bringing in a guy, Sam Green, was excellent against the pass in high school, and Shelby and some of these guys. And then even in linebacker world, Mason Cobb, man, that dude, when he blitzes, he can win a one-on-one. And so I think if there's one thing I think we're looking forward to, I think you will see this year, you'll see more guys, in those roles that are affecting the quarterback. And that's, just a start, but that's a huge deal.
You mentioned development versus getting the guys ready-made kind of out of the transfer portal. Is Jamil kind of in between just because of how little he's played on the edge? Just only 3 years, I think, in now?
Yeah, that's a great question. And anyone that's in this program needs development. The 5-star high school kid, a number one, whatever position in the country, he gets to our level, and it's like, yeah, bro, you got a lot you got to work on. And so the development piece never misses anyone. But, there is a reality to guys that's played a lot of ball at this level, and so those are the things that kind of give you some insight. Hey, this guy is going to come in and he shouldn't have as big of an adjustment as a younger guy or a high school guy. In Jamil's case, again, started off coming out of high school as a high school quarterback. and then, you know, early in his career flipped over to the other side of the ball and had a productive couple seasons there at Georgia State. And so I think he's really peaking right now. I think getting him early in January and having, you know, with what will be, you know, 6-7 months in our program prior to stepping on the field, I think he's reached all his peaks right now from a strength and speed and you know, agility, acceleration, you name it. I mean, he is really peaking. Again, not my opinion. You know, he shows me those numbers and, Coach, this is where I'm at. Coach, you got to see this. And, you know, these guys send me videos. Our guys are jacked up, man, to attack this weight room. So I think level of competition is I think it's in a lot of ways arbitrary. I mean, if you can go beat a guy, you can beat a guy. You know, so I don't think there'll be any huge gap that way. And it was evident, you know, coming out of spring ball, he led the team in sacks. You know what I mean? And I believe TFLs too. So, I mean, he asserted himself from day one. Again, has a lot of things he still has to work on, like all our guys. But I'm excited to see what he does. So,
Two-part, is Romello back healthy?
Yeah.
And if so, what does he add back to the room for you?
Yeah, he's fully healthy, ready to go. Went a little bit of the, I don't want to say cautious route, but, you know, held him out of spring a little bit, you know, just to make sure, because, you know, you don't want to bring a guy back too early. And like I said, he's chomping at the bit. I mean, he is a guy that, you know, last year and you know, obviously he missed this spring, but he is quick as lightning. He has the ability to drop in coverage. He's really loose, really sudden, and just extremely athletic. And so his biggest focus has just been getting stronger, you know, building his body up to be able to, you know, go through a 12, which will be, you know, hopefully a 15, 16 game season. And so in addition to, you know, he was here and he's been in the program. Even though he didn't play during the season, he did everything but. And so he brings experience and leadership to our room and to our defense. And now him, like everybody, they got to go out there and they got to earn their keep. And so that's what this camp will be all about, is earning their keep for all these guys.
What's the biggest thing you want to see proven during fall camp to earn those opportunities?
I think number one is consistency. Number two is toughness. You know, I want to be you know, when I look at that tape, I want to see a room that takes it to whoever they're going to. I want it to be a wow factor on tape, man, whether that's in the run game, whether that's getting in that backfield, getting to the quarterback. Our position specifically needs to flash on tape. You know, some of those guys that's played the position, you know, Nick Benito at our old place, you know, that guy flashed on tape. Frankie Louvu in the NFL right now, that dude, like, he flashes on tape. And so I'm looking for those guys here now at SC, man, to take that to heart. You know, that when we're on the field, man, that position needs to have an impact. You know, and I said that a year ago, and we didn't get that done, in my opinion. And so it's something that motivates me as a position coach, and I think that most, you know, all our coaches are that way. You know, they want their position to shine and to be a part of that spark that our team needs on game day. So
You started out with consistency. What does consistency mean to you?
You know, not having a great day and then having an okay day and then having a bad day and then having a great day or whatever it is. I think to be a high-level football player, I think that you have to be able